May I say that I enjoyed those dances very much?
Well, dear Mike, now like that little girl who's going to brag all her life that she was your dancing partner, I had a little boy who used to act with me on Broadway. And I'd like to introduce to you all the little boy that's now grown up to be a very big and successful boy, Tony Perkins.
Tony Perkins.
You certainly grew up.
Yes, he did. Grew up into a big, big star. But how could you, Tony, how could you stab that lovely lady in Psycho? I mean, what did she do to hurt you?
Well, stabbing Janet Leigh in Psycho wasn't nearly so pleasurable as making love to Joan Fontaine in Tea and Sympathy, I can assure you.
You know, they tell me while
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
They tell me when they filmed Psycho that they didn't allow anyone on the set, any outsiders, any visitors. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Why?
Well, basically, I think it was because Hitchcock doesn't like to be bothered with a lot of people looking over his shoulder when he directs a movie. I think the reason given was that it was a story that had a surprise ending and so forth. But actually, people don't belong. Just outsiders and strangers really don't belong on a movie set. First of all, it's distracting for the technicians and very distracting for the actors. Mm-hmm. And although I know, for instance, Universal Studios now has a policy of bringing people by in buses to see the actors working. I don't know, it makes acting seem rather like being in a zoo. I would prefer always to...
But you did mention the crew, and they're always around, and there's people up on scaffolds and things when you...
Yeah, but it's their profession, too. You know, they're in on it. They've been watching it for so long.
They're sort of like the nurses and the doctors during an operation.
Exactly.
You don't notice them.
A perfect analogy. And they don't notice you either.
That's
You're just
right.
another case. Yeah.
But doesn't... Thanks, dear. But isn't it odd to have all those people watching you? I haven't seen that, where lots and lots of visitors come in.
Well, I know that's what they do at Universal now. They come by in busloads.
Distracting.
Yeah.
I always found it difficult to have tears coming down my face and then have to shake hands with a senator or something and go right back. Do you mind that emotional
scene?
scene?
How do you do all that?
Would you like to know?
Tony, how do you ever miss an audience reaction though when you're acting? This might sound like a stupid question, but I've never done a motion picture. Have you ever finished a scene that was so exciting that the crew actually applauded?
No.
Really? That was a stupid question because it didn't get an answer.
I've been in scenes where the crew laughed, comedy scenes, luckily.
Oh, yes, thank goodness.
I've been in scenes where at the end where the crew was very quiet, and I suppose that's a kind of appreciation of the sort, because usually they say, "Okay, let's move this wall." You know, that's the next thing they do.
They just stand there for a while.
Yeah, but
they never do that.
I've never been through that.
I've read that they have. In
yeah,
some
I think
cases.
it's been done, but I've missed that. I'm looking forward to it, though.
Tony, when I began in this business, I used to listen to Bing Crosby records, and I used to listen to Frank Sinatra records, and they were my idols. Did you ever have an idol when you started as a youngster?
Yeah, and strangely, I think most the idols of most young actors are usually the people that you wouldn't quite guess that they would be. For instance, when I was just a kid, my idea of the best actor in the world was Raymond Massey. Of course, he's so well known as is it Gillespie that he plays?
Yes.
But I was just fixed on him. I was just convinced he was the finest actor around, and of course he is a marvelous actor. But at that time, I was just absolutely hypnotized by the character roles that he played.
Anyone else other than Raymond Massey?
He was it for me.
He was it.
Yeah.
What about the women?
Well.
Olivia de Havilland? Did she do anything for you?
When I was a kid, I decided I would pay homage to Joan Fontaine by being the first person to stand in line to see Rebecca when it played at the RKO Keith Albee Theater in Boston.
Well, just a minute. I'll get back at you.
Wait a
When they
minute.
told me you were going to be on the show today, they said, he's a very grown-up man now. And I said, isn't that funny? Because I've stayed the same.
But you
Look
know,
at you.
you don't know how much of a compliment that is. He said in Boston, he lived in Brooklyn. No, it's not true. You seem like a very shy guy. Are you really that way?
No, I don't think I'm shy.
But you seem that way.
I'm not very exuberant, I guess. I'm doing a play here in Philadelphia.
Star Spangled Girl?
Yeah, and we've been rehearsing all week, and we had 2 shows yesterday, and we'll have a show tonight.
What's it about, Tony?
Well, it's a 3-character comedy, and it's about 2 young guys putting out a magazine, a politically controversial magazine, and a flag-waving Olympic swimmer, played by Connie Stevens, who moves in next door to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's kind of another step for you. To my knowledge, you've never done comedy, have you?
Yes, I have. I was.
Sorry, and wrong again, folks. That's 2 for me.
I made a comedy. It was supposed to be a comedy at Warner Brothers a few years ago called Tall Story. That wasn't too funny for some reason. And I was in a comedy on Broadway a couple of years ago, which was also rather ill-fated. You know, we were talking about Joan Fontaine's movie, September Affair. Actually, it was called September Affair, not September Song.
You told me September Song, Joan. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that
I
song.
didn't want to use that word on the air. I didn't think it was...
September Affair?
I was just cleaning it up for you.
You know, when I went to college, I was an usher in the theater where that played. And I saw it so many times that I remembered the name of the woman you played. Do you remember?
Yes, I do. It's
All right.
one of the few I can remember.
You say the first name.
Her
and
first
I'll
name
say-
was Marina.
No,
Yeah?
it wasn't.
Manina.
You want to sit over here,
Manina.
Joan? This is the mistake chair. Over here.
What's your last name?
Well, you tell me since you got the first. Menina
I don't remember last name.
Stewart.
I'll be darned. But do you
That's
realize,
right.
dear boy, that if that is the case 6 years later, or 5 years later, you were playing with me on Broadway?
I was in your arms on Broadway.
Well, you were playing a little, too.
What was it like working with Joan Fontaine? Were
It
you
was
thrilled about that?
terrific,
Tea
yes.
and Symphony?
Particularly because it was my first big job on Broadway. It was my first job at all on Broadway, and I was very nervous, and I didn't know how we were going to...
You know, it seems to me that to have a really good motion picture career, to be a big star, you must first prove yourself on Broadway, or somewhere along the line. You must
No,
step
she
on those
says.
boards. Is that true or not?
I didn't.
You didn't?
No, but
she-
maybe I
she
haven't
did the
reached
other
his
way around.
stature. But
oh.
not on Broadway.
I
I
see
did
you
plays,
went
though.
to
Don't you think theater is necessary, but not necessarily Broadway? I mean, very few people
I
are
think
lucky
that's
enough
what
to
Mike
get
means.
on.
You mean just acting in
Yes,
front of live audience?
sure.
I think so.
I think so, yes.
It's marvelous training, isn't it?
Well, we
how
have a
about-
lot of bad times and a lot of good times in that show, but I remember it with great affection, that entire experience, don't you?
You were my best babysitter. I had 2 little girls, and they were madly in love with this one, and he used to come over and play trains with them and take care of them for me. Bless you.
I remember.
You've made a lot of pictures in Europe.
Yes.
Is that a whole lot different than making them in Hollywood?
It used
and
to
in this
be.
country?
Many years ago, I think European movie-making techniques used to have individual characteristics with each country, but now, unfortunately, I think it's too bad because it's nice to have, you feel, craftsmanship in one country versus another country. Now, I think it's just about the same, don't you?
Just about,
Movies
yes.
are movies anywhere. It's
You
kind
know,
of too
Tony,
bad.
when anyone makes an appearance on this show, we do a lot of research, and we try to find out as much about the person as possible. And we found out somewhere that you play piano by ear and play very well.
No.
Not
no,
true?
No, it's not true. No, I'm just I'm a student of the piano. That's all. I just take lessons. I just plod along like any.
You play guitar also a little bit, too.
I did in the play that we were in together.
Did you play just anything, just a few bars of it? It'll be a first for us on the show to have
What'll
Tony
be?
Perkins play piano.
Would 5 bars be enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll call Dean Martin and get the other one.
I'll get this over with quick.
made 2 mistakes during the interview. I just heard you make 1. Will you make 1 more so we're even? Can you get him out of this? There it is. He did it! Tony Perkins! Tony Perkins! That was delightful. Thank you.
You're not shy at the piano, are you?
I tell you, a very, very peculiar thing, or it's strange to me. You asked me if I was shy. I'm not really, but I am very shy about playing the piano. In fact, not only is this the first time I have ever played the piano on television, it's the first time I've ever played the piano in front of anybody. It's true.
I always, when someone does that, looked at the musicians and they all went, very good, really. They give you their approval.
When I think of the heart attack my music teacher just had.
Do you think what this has opened up for you? Think of the life of Chopin, Rachmaninoff. You'll be playing them all now that they know you can play.
Wish you could feel my heart right now.
Oh, I'd love to.
I'm not kidding.
Now that gets even for the ending of Tea and Sympathy.
Is that fast?
Tony,
I'm glad it's beating it all.
Earlier this week.
You know, if you told me this beforehand, it wouldn't have happened. I tell you that. Earlier this week,
I couldn't wait to ask Joan about Truman Capote's ball. You were there.
Yeah. I was there. No,
you weren't there?
No, I was down here working.
Really? I thought you were there. You read about it, didn't you?
I read about it. Were you there?
That's 3 mistakes,
Get out of here. This is terrible.
Do people, what kind of a reaction do you get when people see you on the street? I'm curious.
Well, I usually walk very fast, so I don't get a chance to see the reaction. You see, if the whole secret of being someone that's well known to the public and getting through the street is to walk fast, don't you?
Celebrity stride,
right.
It's called.
So by the time they see you, oh, isn't that, you're gone.
But some of them follow you. You know, if they're sure, they turn around and they say, "I'm going to see for myself."
Right. Especially, well, of course, if you're doing a play somewhere, you're always at the same time at the same place at 11:15. You're out the stage door, and you're more or less a captive audience to whoever wants to stand around there and say, "You were lousy in your last picture." You know, there's nothing you can do. You're there. Who's going to stop
You're
them?
a captive audience. We have a gentleman backstage now who is a very dear friend of yours, Joni, and he has met a lot of celebrities, danced with him, been at parties with him. He's a guy you read about constantly, and we always love having him on the show because he's really an exciting guy and a good performer. His name is Killer Joe Pirro, Joni's dancing partner.
Tony?
This man can make anybody dance. He's just marvelous. Has he ever given you a lesson?
Oh, many times on the show.
Oh, he has. I missed that one. I'm sorry, but oh, what marvelous parties I've been to where he was the star.
And he told me upstairs that you are the greatest person at a party. You have more life and more enthusiasm, and they're more fun.
I don't dance so well, but I enjoy myself anyway.
Who are some of the people you've taught, famous people you've taught, Joe?
Lucy Baines Johnson, the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, Mrs. Astor, Adlai Stevenson,
Elsa Maxwell.
Elsa Maxwell. God rest her soul, she was beautiful.
She was a wonderful woman.
What about the modern dances of the past? Do you think now that Winchester Cathedral is a hit and they're bringing back the megaphone, singing and all, do you think that they're going to bring back some of the old dances, Joe, and revive them?
Great. It's great sound, too, which I think it will come back.
Are you in favor of it?
I certainly am.
Well,
I'm
those
very
dances-
happy with the big bands.
If those dances came back, maybe they'd bring back the big band era.
Last night at the steak pit, they had Count Basie.
Oh, boy, that's excitement. That's excitement. Joan, why don't you and Joe recreate some of the dances of the past?
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
start with the Lindy Hop, okay?
The Lindy.
Please.
That's not the past, is it?
Wait a minute. Now review the modern dances. Start with the twist with Joni. How about the fruit? The fruit. Yeah, yeah. How about the Watusi? The Watusi, Joe. Now, what are some of the new dances?
Well, we have-
Tony, would you join us?
Oh,
Now that you got your heart started,
come on,
will you
Twinkle
join us?
Toes. Twinkle Fingers, come on.
Come on, Tone.
I swear, I promise you.
I can't either. Come on.
I can't. I just can't.